The taste of salt lingered on his lips as Michael stared at the woman who had tormented him for months, his boss, Claire Winters, now looking at him with eyes that held something he'd never seen before. Vulnerability. The kiss had been impulsive, desperate, a collision of two broken souls at their lowest point. Neither of them had seen it coming, and neither knew what would happen next. But in that moment, everything changed. If you're enjoying this story of unexpected connection and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that remind us how life can transform in a single moment. 3 months earlier, Michael Bennett had been drowning. "Daddy, we're going to be late again," 6-year-old Emma said, her small fingers tugging at his wrinkled shirt as he frantically searched for her other shoe. "I know, sweetheart. I know." Michael's voice cracked with exhaustion. The apartment was a disaster, dishes piled in the sink, laundry spilling from baskets, and toys scattered across every surface. This wasn't the life he'd planned for his daughter. This wasn't the father he wanted to be. The morning routine had become a daily battle since Melissa's death 18 months ago. Cancer. Quick and merciless. It had stolen his wife and Emma's mother, leaving behind a void that seemed to grow larger with each passing day. "Found it." Emma triumphantly held up her pink sneaker that had somehow migrated under the couch. Her smile, so much like her mother's, was the only light in Michael's increasingly dark world. 20 minutes later, after dropping Emma at school with another apologetic nod to her teacher, Michael rushed into Pinnacle Publishing, already 15 minutes late for the morning meeting. Claire Winters, his new department head, stood at the head of the conference table, her presentation already underway. She paused mid-sentence, her steel-gray eyes finding him in the doorway. "So nice of you to join us, Mr. Bennett," she said, her voice cool and precise. "Perhaps next time you could grace us with your presence when the meeting actually begins?" Heat rushed to Michael's face as he slipped into the only available chair. Claire Winters had taken over the fiction department 6 weeks ago, and in that time, she had developed a reputation for ruthless efficiency. At 35, she was the youngest department head in the company's history, brilliant, driven, and seemingly devoid of human empathy. "As I was saying before we were interrupted," Claire continued, "our numbers are down 20% from last quarter. This is unacceptable." Her gaze swept the room, lingering on Michael. "Some of you aren't pulling your weight. Deadlines are being missed. Manuscripts are being returned with inadequate edits. This stops now." Michael sank lower in his chair. He had been a senior editor at Pinnacle for 8 years, with a stellar reputation for discovering new talent. But since Melissa's death, his work had suffered. He knew it. His colleagues knew it. And now Claire Winters definitely knew it. After the meeting, Michael retreated to his office, closing the door behind him. His desk was buried under manuscripts, each one representing a deadline he was struggling to meet. His phone buzzed with a text from Emma's after-school program, reminding him of the upcoming payment due. Another bill he wasn't sure how he'd pay. A sharp knock interrupted his thoughts. Without waiting for a response, Claire pushed open his door. "I need to speak with you," she said, closing the door behind her. Michael braced himself. "Of course." Claire placed a manuscript on his desk, one he'd edited last week. "This is subpar work, Michael. The author called me personally to complain about your edits. Or should I say, lack of edits?" "I'm sorry," Michael began. I don't need excuses," Claire cut him off. "I need results. You have a reputation as one of our best editors, but I've yet to see evidence of that. The company can't afford to carry dead weight." The words hit Michael like physical blows. Dead weight. Is that what he'd become? "I understand," he said quietly. "Do you?" Claire leaned forward, her hands flat on his desk. "Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you've checked out. If you can't handle the job anymore, perhaps you should consider other options." After she left, Michael sat motionless, her words echoing in his mind. Other options? There were no other options. This job was all he had left, the only thing keeping a roof over Emma's head and food on their table. Without it, they would lose everything. That night, after tucking Emma into bed, Michael sat at his kitchen table with a glass of whiskey, surrounded by bills and past due notices. The weight of his situation pressed down on him until he could barely breathe. Claire was right. He was failing, at work, at home, at life. His phone buzzed with an email notification. Claire Winters. Subject line, Performance Improvement Plan. Michael opened it with trembling fingers. The message was clear: he had 30 days to improve his performance or face termination. 30 days to save the only stability he and Emma had left. The next morning, Michael dropped Emma at school an hour early, having promised her pancakes at the school's breakfast program to make up for it. He arrived at the office before anyone else, determined to make a change. To his surprise, a light was already on in the conference room. Through the glass walls, he could see Claire Winters, hunched over a stack of papers, her normally perfect posture absent. She looked different. Tired. Human. Michael hesitated, then knocked softly on the door frame. Claire's head snapped up, her professional mask sliding back into place so quickly he almost thought he'd imagined its absence. "Bennett. You're early. I wanted to get a head start," he said. "I saw your email." Claire nodded, gathering her papers. "Good. Then you understand the seriousness of the situation." "I do." Michael took a deep breath. "And I want you to know that I'm committed to turning things around. This job, it means everything to me." Something flickered in Claire's eyes, surprise, perhaps, or skepticism. "Actions speak louder than words, Bennett. I'll believe it when I see it." Over the next 2 weeks, Michael threw himself into his work with renewed determination. He stayed late every night, bringing Emma to the office with her homework and iPad when he couldn't find a sitter. He took manuscripts home, editing until the early hours of the morning. The dark circles under his eyes deepened, but his work improved. One evening, as the office emptied, Michael sat at his desk, struggling to keep his eyes open as he reviewed a promising debut novel. Emma had fallen asleep on the small couch in his office, her math homework still open beside her. A soft knock startled him. Claire stood in the doorway, her eyes moving from Michael to Emma's sleeping form. "You're still here," she said, her voice unusually quiet. Michael rubbed his eyes. "Just finishing up some edits." Claire stepped into the office, her gaze lingering on Emma. "You bring her here often?" "Only when I have to," Michael said defensively. "My regular sitter's been sick, and I can't afford," he stopped himself. "I mean, it's temporary." Claire nodded slowly, then did something unexpected. She sat down in the chair across from his desk. "The manuscript you turned in yesterday," she said. "The romance novel set in New Orleans." Michael tensed, waiting for criticism. "It was good work," Claire said. "Very good, actually. The author called to thank me for the edits." Relief washed over him. "Thank you. I've been trying." "I can see that." Claire's eyes moved back to Emma. "How old is she?" 6, Michael said, surprised by the personal question. "Her name is Emma." Claire's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "She looks like you." Before Michael could respond, Claire stood up. "Don't stay too late. Even editors need sleep." She paused at the door. "And Michael? The improvement plan is going well. Keep it up." As she walked away, Michael stared after her, puzzled by the brief glimpse of humanity she'd shown. It was the first time she'd called him by his first name. The following Monday, disaster struck. Michael's phone rang at 10:30 a.m., Emma's school. She had a fever of 102 and needed to be picked up immediately. With no family nearby and his regular sitter still unavailable, Michael had no choice. He knocked on Claire's office door, his heart pounding. "Come in," she called. Michael entered, already bracing for her reaction. "I'm sorry, but I have an emergency. My daughter is sick at school, and I need to pick her up." Claire looked up from her computer, her expression unreadable. "I see. I'll bring work home," Michael said quickly. "And I can dial in for the afternoon meeting. I just..." "Go," Claire said, cutting him off. "Your daughter needs you." Michael blinked, surprised by her response. "Thank you. I'll make up the time, I promise." Claire waved him away. "Just keep me updated on when you'll be back." As Michael rushed to his car, he couldn't help but wonder about the woman behind the icy exterior. For a moment, she had seemed almost understanding. Emma's fever persisted for 3 days. Michael worked remotely, sending emails at odd hours and joining meetings by phone while tending to his miserable child. On the 4th day, with Emma still too sick for school but her fever finally broken, Michael faced a difficult decision. He had a crucial in-person meeting with an author, one he couldn't miss or reschedule. With no other options, he bundled Emma up and brought her to the office, setting her up in his office with books, her iPad, and strict instructions to rest on the couch. The meeting went well, but when Michael returned to his office, Emma was gone. Panic seized him as he searched the empty room. Then he heard it, his daughter's laughter, coming from down the hall. Following the sound, Michael stopped short at the open door to Claire's office. Inside, Emma sat on the floor, surrounded by colored markers, while Claire knelt beside her, pointing at something on a large sheet of paper. "And then what happens to the princess?" Claire was asking, her voice gentler than Michael had ever heard it. "She doesn't need the prince to rescue her," Emma explained seriously. "She rescues herself and then they become friends instead." Claire smiled, actually smiled, and Michael felt as though he'd witnessed a solar eclipse. "I like that ending much better," she told Emma. Michael cleared his throat, and both heads turned toward him. "Daddy!" Emma exclaimed. "Ms. Claire is helping me make a storyboard. She says that's how books get made into real books." Claire stood quickly, smoothing her skirt. She wandered in looking for the bathroom, she explained, a hint of color in her cheeks. "I hope you don't mind." She mentioned she was bored. "I don't mind at all," Michael said, still processing the scene before him. "Thank you for watching her." "She's very creative," Claire said, her professional demeanor returning. "She has quite the imagination." Emma beamed at the praise. "Ms. Claire says I could be a writer someday, just like the people you help." Michael smiled at his daughter, then looked at Claire with new eyes. "That's high praise coming from Ms. Claire. She only works with the very best writers." Something passed between them then, a moment of understanding, perhaps, or mutual respect. For the first time since she'd become his boss, Michael felt like he was seeing the real Claire Winters. The moment was broken by Claire's phone ringing. "I should take this," she said, the warmth in her voice fading. "Feel free to continue the storyboard in your office, Emma." As Michael helped Emma gather her markers, he couldn't help but wonder what other surprises Claire Winters might be hiding behind her carefully constructed walls. The next few weeks brought a subtle shift in Michael and Claire's professional relationship. The icy criticism thawed into constructive feedback. Occasionally, Claire would ask about Emma, and Michael found himself sharing small details about their life, Emma's love of storytelling, her struggle with math, her recent obsession with space. In turn, Michael began to notice things about Claire. The way she always arrived first and left last. How she took her coffee black but kept a secret stash of chocolate in her desk drawer. The slight softening of her voice when she spoke to authors who were nervous about their work. One evening, as Michael prepared to leave with Emma after another late night, Claire appeared in his doorway. You've been bringing her here a lot, she observed, nodding toward Emma, who was packing up her crayons. Michael sighed. My sitter quit last week. I'm interviewing new ones, but it's hard to find someone reliable who I can afford on short notice. Claire seemed to consider something before speaking. There's a childcare center in the building next door. It's run by the company that owns this building. Employees get a discount. Michael shook his head. I looked into it when I first started here. Even with the discount, it's out of my price range. The company has a subsidy program for single parents, Claire said. It's not well advertised, but it exists. I can send you the information. Michael stared at her, surprised both by the information and by her willingness to share it. That would be, thank you. Claire nodded, then hesitated. Your work has improved significantly, Michael. I'm impressed by your dedication. The compliment, unexpected and sincere, warmed something in Michael's chest. Thank you. That means a lot. As Claire turned to leave, Emma called out, "Bye, Ms. Claire. Thank you for the stickers." Claire turned back with a small smile. You're welcome, Emma. Use them wisely. After she left, Michael looked at his daughter. Miss Claire gave you stickers? Emma nodded, pulling a sheet of star-shaped stickers from her backpack. She said I could put one on each day I finish my math homework without crying. Michael felt a lump form in his throat. Claire had noticed Emma's struggles with math, had paid attention to his offhand comment weeks ago, and had found a small way to help. Who was this woman, really? The answer came unexpectedly, late one Friday evening. Michael had enrolled Emma in the childcare center with the subsidy Claire had told him about, giving him the ability to work later when needed without bringing her to the office. He was just finishing up some edits when a crash and muffled curse came from Claire's office down the hall. Concerned, Michael went to investigate. Claire's door was ajar, and through the gap, he could see her kneeling on the floor, gathering papers that had scattered everywhere. A broken picture frame lay beside her. Need some help? He asked softly. Claire's head snapped up, and Michael was shocked to see tears in her eyes. She quickly wiped them away, but not before he'd noticed. I'm fine, she said, her voice tight. Just clumsy. Michael entered anyway, kneeling to help gather the papers. Let me help. It's the least I can do after everything you've done for Emma and me. Claire didn't protest, which surprised him almost as much as the tears had. As they collected the scattered papers, Michael caught sight of the photo from the broken frame, a smiling Claire with her arm around an elderly woman in a hospital bed. My mother, Claire said quietly, following his gaze. She died 3 years ago today. The simple admission, heavy with unspoken grief, hit Michael like a physical blow. I'm sorry, he said, the words inadequate but sincere. Claire took the photo from him gently. Alzheimer's. It was a long goodbye. Michael sat back on his heels, recognition dawning. You were her caretaker. Claire nodded, carefully placing the photo on her desk. For 5 years. I worked remotely for a smaller publisher so I could be with her. After she died, I threw myself into my career. Pinnacle was a fresh start. Suddenly, so many things made sense: Claire's drive, her long hours, her initial coldness. She had been running from her grief, just as he had been drowning in his. That's why you pushed so hard when you first came here, Michael said. You were trying to prove yourself. Claire met his eyes, vulnerability and strength mingling in her gaze. And you were barely keeping your head above water. I should have seen it sooner. I should have recognized it. How could you have known? Michael asked. Because I lived it, Claire said simply. Different circumstances, but the same exhaustion. The same impossible balancing act. She sighed. When I saw you with Emma that first time, it reminded me of all the times I brought work to my mother's hospital room. I think I was